All right, what's going on, guys? I'm Matt. I'm the host of the Perspective Project, and this is my buddy here, Matt, and we're going to be having a little conversation today. So, Matt, why don't you tell the people about yourself?
Okay, well, that's a hard question because I'm weird. I'm Matt. Also, I'm originally from Wyoming, and I was born and raised in Wyoming. And then I came to college to attend ASU and get my degree in biology. And I'm currently applying to medical school. And I was Matt's fraternity's brother, and he asked me to do this project, so I'm excited.
Here you go. All right, so are you working right now, or?
I am, yeah. I work at a hospital. I work at Honor Health Hospital. It's part of a healthcare system. We got, I think, 7 hospitals. I work on the med surge floor as a PCT, which is pretty much just like a CNA almost. I take care of patients and change their wounds and take them to the bathroom, make sure that they get their medications, they don't fall, they,
You're a good person.
Wiping some butts, trying to make sure that they don't get infected from their own bodily fluids. So that's the hard part, but it's pretty fun. I enjoy it. Yeah,
you're a better man than me. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into today's topic. And the question I'm gonna ask you is: should hate speech be against the law in America, or in general?
The first thing that I want to say is a disclaimer that I am not an expert on anything, and I think that anything that I say can be taken with a grain of salt, as with anybody. And if I say something that's not factually correct or whatever, I don't know. My bad. So
These are just opinions. That's all this is. It's one big opinion just to get the conversation started.
That's fair. So hate speech. I think the biggest thing that immediately comes to mind is, what is hate speech? And that question, because you say, oh, hate speech, and to me, I would have my definition of what hate speech might be, right? Something racist or something about, stereotype, prejudice, things like that, and saying that, hey, let's, do harm towards other people or, bring people down because of who they are. That would be my definition, right?
Okay.
But my definition might be different to somebody else, right? So, let's do an example real quick, okay? So let's imagine that we're in Germany in 1943, okay? And I'm a Jewish person, okay? And we have a friend who's in the Nazi party, and he says, Jews are worthless or whatever, they should be eradicated, all his views, right? To me, and to most of the world, and even today, everybody would say that's hate speech, and we'd all say inherently that's wrong, right? Okay, well, now I'm a Jewish person, and I say the same exact thing about the Nazi party. Well, to him, that's hate speech to him, right? Mm-hmm. And so what it ultimately comes down to is if we argue about, well, how can we categorize what is hate speech? There's always going to be somebody that says that's not hate speech and this is hate speech, right? Okay. And in America, we always think about freedom and liberty, and those have definitions that, again, might be, well, this is a freedom to you, not a freedom to me, or this is part of liberty, this isn't part of liberty. So I think when you boil it down, it might not be something that has a right answer.
Okay.
It's complex, and it's based on your perspective, your background, all the things in your life that would determine it, right? Mm-hmm. And so based on that, I would say that it shouldn't be illegal. Now, disclaimer on that is people should have the ability to hear what somebody says and have the education, have the background to say, that's wrong. And even though you said it, I can recognize that that's wrong. It's not true. I don't support it. And that's what we all wish, right? I mean, everybody in this room hears something racist. We all inherently, because we have, good families, we have a good background, we have education, we've had gifts in our lives that have blessed us with an ability to say that's wrong, and we don't believe in that. But that's untrue. Not everybody has that. And that's how you get bad things happening, on a large scale like the Nazi Party, or on a small scale like you're at Walmart and somebody says, you know, something racist to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And so it should be legal. The thing is that we have to try to work as a society to educate every single person in the United States to recognize things that are wrong. You know, I think everybody in the world, or in the United States, understands that the N-word is bad, right?
Yeah,
but there's still
obviously
people out there that still say it, they still use it, they still think, well, whatever, I can say it and believe that it's, you know, it's true. But we need to keep progressing as a society and educating each other that it's not true. And we can eventually overcome things, but it's going to be continuous. It's never going to stop. You're always going to have somebody that's like, I don't like that person for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So,
And I couldn't really agree more with the fact that the definitions change over time. Like early 1800s in America, if a white man said something racist to a black man, there's no big deal. That's par for the course, normal. But if a black man said that to a white man, that's hate speech, lynch mobs, all the horrible things that are what you'd call like the horrible past of America. And the only way to get that better is to let those groups, in my opinion, if a group has a bad idea, the best way to let them know they have a bad idea, let them say it publicly and let the masses of people go, you're a piece of shit, you don't need your job, you don't need this, you don't need that, and let the social pressures kind of force people to change their thinking, and not, you said a joke about a Chinese person and driving, you need to go to jail or pay a fine.
yeah.
And I agree with you in that aspect. But there's the other side of it where if you could directly link someone saying a hate speech towards, I know the trans community has a lot of hate speech, a lot of issues with that. If someone saying something to them directly or indirectly results in them harming themselves, does it cross the line where is it still words and it's protected, or did those words cause enough negative to that person that now it's kind of crossed the realm into it, even if it's not, even if it's just words they should be like charged or tried or anything like that. So what do you think about that? Like, should that be protected? If there's a clear, you said this horrible thing to someone, say it was you that said it.
You know, that's an interesting point, and I think that comes down to what is the clear line. It goes back to it's too hard to, that's an interesting point, and I think that comes down to what is the clear line. It goes back to it's too hard to define.
Yeah.
For example, I don't want to even talk about necessarily like, you know, the experiences of other people, because I can only talk about my experience, which has been incredibly blessed because, you know, I'm white, straight male, whatever, and not poor. So things have been pretty freaking butter smooth for me in my whole life. So I can't even talk about, you know, what would be offensive to me. Almost nothing. Nothing would be offensive, right? And whereas somebody else who has whatever experience, things would be a lot different to them. And I think that you just can't draw that line. You can't draw the line. Okay, you can you can draw the line, but it would only be for you, right? You can say, this is offensive to me. You can draw that line because that's how you feel, but you can't say, oh, that needs, you know, what he said needs to prosecute, because you can't do that. And it's so hard, and that's a bummer. Because I wish it could just be like I wish it could be just cut and dry. You know, like, oh, just like driving drunk. You know, you were driving drunk. It's just proven. It's done. You're getting charged for it. You can't do that with speech. Which sucks, and that's why there is a problem. However, I think there could be a line where if you incite like mass violence or violence for yourself, I think you can draw a line there. For example, in the hospital, if somebody says, even if they're intoxicated beyond whatever, they're clearly not in their will, they say, I'm going to harm myself, anybody that's taking care of them or around them has to take that seriously and assume that they're going to. So we could make assumptions about it and then progress from there. So if somebody says, oh, I'm going to hurt myself, since you said that and we don't know what's going to happen, we're going to try to keep you safe. And we are going to encroach on your rights and your liberties by keeping you in a hospital until we make sure you're safe. And that's, you know, some people say that's, you know, bullshit. How can you tell when I'm actually, maybe I was joking. And that, okay, maybe, right? even if I just was working on a shift and I said, oh, I'm gonna, hurt myself, my coworkers would probably take that seriously and at least report it and try to do something, right? Because they don't know the line, and then you don't want to be that guy that gets in trouble for it, or whatever. And so, let's say, for example, a guy goes on social media and has a big following and says, we are going to attack this church or this mosque or whatever. We got to take that assumption. We got to step in. So that hate speech is, or that speech that could be defined as hate speech would be inciting violence or about to do something, but you have to take that assumption. And so I think taking assumptions is okay. For example, you go on Facebook and you write some huge racist thing.
Yeah.
And your boss fires you. Your boss just took an assumption on what that means. He doesn't want to be correlated with that. He doesn't want to be the guy that, even if it was a joke, whatever your story is, you got to think past that. He's taking that assumption. And I think assumptions are okay. But again, they're always going to be argued. So when assumption is taken, you have to be prepared, have that evidence, and when somebody, of course, when that person's like, you shouldn't have held me in the hospital, I was just kidding. You got to have that evidence. You got to have that law where it's like, I don't care if you said it. My policy is when you say it, we're taking it seriously, right? Yeah. So that might be kind of a law. I guess.
And I mean, kind of going off what you said to give another side of it is the way society changes and what is considered hate speech. Imagine if Donald Trump, he won this election and he says, you know what, all hate speech against anybody that's a supporter of mine, max or minimum sentence 2 years in prison if you say anything bad about a Trump supporter. And you already have a law on the book that says hate speech results in 2 years in prison. Whoever's in charge at the time can move those definitions around the same way it's been done for hundreds of years. The definitions of words get moved, lawyers get to do their thing, and next thing you know, you say this Trump supporter is an idiot, and then you have the cops knocking on your door and say, give us $1,000 or you're going to prison for 30 days.
Yeah.
You just don't know which way it's going to go, or the other way, or if Biden wins and there's something on the books where it says, hey, hate speech is a punishable offense. He goes, I'm going to change hate speech to if you say anything bad about a Democrat, but we can say whatever we want about Republicans because obviously they're wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously they're wrong. So we can do whatever we want, say whatever we want, and we have the law on our side. So especially once the law kind of says that you're a protected class or you are a protected class, society will start to follow suit with that. So if Trump's people are number one and Biden's are number two, it will start to reflect that if the laws also show it.
Definitely. That reminds me, there's a book, right? It's called the Gulag Archipelago. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's a ridiculously long book, right? And that was written in secrecy. Can't remember the guy's name. I'll probably butcher the pronunciation.
Yeah.
But written in secrecy in Russia during when the Iron Wall and or Iron Curtain, whatever it was called. And he writes this whole book describing what it was like to be in the gulags and what got people sent there and all these different things. And really what it comes down to is a lot of what you just said. So in Russia, they're saying what, they're just defining what is wrong speech, what is hate speech, and sending you to a gulag for 8 years. And the gulags are terrible. I mean, you're starving, you're freezing, you're a slave. And he writes his book in secrecy. And this book, which is considered hate speech there, eventually got out. He got it to a publisher in France, and he, got around the world, and the world learned, about what was going on in Russia, in these gulags, what was getting people sent there. And that did something really great because the world was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on. And it really helped change that hate speech in Russia that was written in secrecy and all these things changed the world. It really helped a lot of people out, and it was transformational in the world, right? And so when you have, that's why not banning hate speech or starting to encroach on things is important, because the next thing you know, things are going to start being taken away, and it's going to start coming down to, oh, I heard Matt Bronner said X, Y, and Z, and you're getting your rights taken away, you're going to prison. And that's a slippery slope. And I know people always say slippery slope, whatever. What does that even mean? But it does. It happens, And things become more and more taken away from you if you are granted more and more leeway. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I can't prove that's gonna happen. I'm just saying, you know, in Russia that happened. That's an example of it. But like, it's why it's good to have people be able to speak up and produce their own media. Like, that's really unique about America, which is awesome.
I mean, that's what we're trying to do right now, is just start a conversation on a topic like this that doesn't necessarily have a right or a wrong answer, but still needs to be talked about nonetheless. Because on paper, sounds great. I know there was a bill that they just proposed in our government that's called the anti-lynching bill, which sounds great on paper, but what it really did is, let's say you get in a bar fight, mutual, both of you guys are assholes, you knock a guy out and he was Hispanic and you were white, they would now charge you under a hate crime and you go to prison for 20 years. Even though you may have not actually hated him because of his race, you guys are both just drunk and wanted to get in a fist fight. So you kind of hide things, make it sound like it's going to be good. Like, we're going to get rid of hate speech. We're going to anti-lynching. These are like almost trigger words that make it sound like we're doing the right thing. It will eventually come around and bite you. Like, I personally can't think of too many countries where they've censored their citizen speech and made certain things not okay and took people to jail for it, and it worked out in the favor where people didn't end up dying in like pretty large numbers. Like, it's going on in China.
The society, right?
Yeah, I mean, even in China right now, if we were to make this video being a Chinese citizen and just putting the Chinese government on blast, we would end up getting a knock on the door within the next week, and I don't know what would happen. I can't speculate what would happen, but I wouldn't want to be there for when they actually come knocking on your door, like, why did you say these things? So I would say that would be the beauty of the First Amendment, is it's not always ugly, it's not cold cut, this is good, this is bad, but it is protecting you, even though you may not realize it and you think that it's causing more problems. Like, you are protected under the First Amendment whether you know it or not, because any opinion you have could eventually become the wrong opinion and get you in trouble with anything. And I mean,
yeah, that's why. But on the side note of that, I think that with the First Amendment, everybody should take a little bit responsibility to not be a bystander to hate speech. For example, when somebody says something terrible, your buddy or whatever, you gotta stand up and say, dude, what are you saying? And either remove, if he's not willing to learn, and shape up, don't be his friend, and continue to always speak up for what is right and against that kind of hate speech. Because like you said, I thought the social pressure is important, right? And social pressure of changing people's opinion on things and trying to say, dude, that's not right,
Yeah.
You have the right to say that, but that doesn't mean it's right. And you can say whatever you want, but that doesn't make you not an idiot.
Yeah.
Or make you not a bad person.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes. And I think that our generation, that continues to be important. I don't know about past generations. I know that whatever. I didn't live during then. I'm just going to say right now, it doesn't matter who you are. You hear something bad, you need to speak up about it. And the more that we do that, the more our buddies and our friends and whoever we encounter might change. And if they don't, I hope they do. And just keep doing it. If it doesn't work out, doesn't mean you're doing the right thing, so continue to do it, even if it doesn't change somebody. Or, try to go about it tactfully. You don't have to, if somebody says something wrong, maybe they don't recognize it.
Don't scream in their face. That's a hard way to get someone to move in the right direction.
Yeah, try to be tactful about it. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know that it's wrong. Yeah. So try to find that out.
You jump down someone's throat, they're just going to get more entrenched in their ways if they say something that maybe is a little off taste, but they didn't mean anything that bad by it, and you immediately you were a Nazi, you were the problem, we need to report you, I'm recording you, you need to lose your job. That person is just going to be like, I didn't do anything wrong, that wasn't my intent, and now they're more entrenched in those ways.
Yeah, they're going to dig in their heels, right? Just be mindful, take responsibility of yourself. If you post on Facebook, something racist and you lose your job, I don't think anybody's gonna feel too bad for you, because that's just, you're stupid and you need to learn, and hopefully that teaches you. I'm not sure.
And I know there's other things about how people's past get brought up a lot, especially with social media. I know recently Kevin Hart was supposed to host the Oscars or something
Yeah.
like that. They found a tweet from 10 years ago. Keep in mind, he's an up-and-coming comedian, trying to be funny, trying to say outlandish things 10 years ago on the internet. He said something that probably wasn't the best of taste, probably offended some people.
Mhm.
He lost that gig, which probably would have paid him hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, got him a lot of fame and all that, and he lost that job just because of something he said 10 years ago. So do you think there's like still overreach when it comes to that, or do you think like things like that could be justified? Like, can people change, or should they be given the opportunity to change if they've ever messed up? Like, if you have an uncle that for the first 10 years of your life was a racist dude, and you're like, come on,
Yeah.
is that person redeemable?
Do I think, to answer that, do I think people are redeemable?
Yeah.
Yes, I think they can be redeemable,
Mhm.
but that takes serious action
Yeah.
on their part. And what is redeemable to me? I might think somebody's redeemable, but somebody else, the guy's, let's say the guy says something bad and that really offended me. Maybe he's never going to be redeemable.
Mhm.
That's just how it goes, man.
Yeah.
So when Kevin Hart says something 10 years ago, the time doesn't matter to me, because you said something 10 years ago and maybe it was a joke.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it was, Kevin Hart, because he's a comedian and you're supposed to say outlandish things and those things. And to me, which is my opinion, okay, you said something offensive and offended people, you lost the gig.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Life's going to move on, and now the times are changing to where you got to be conscious of what you say. And if something in the past comes up, it's hard, that line of should it ruin your life? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because was it a joke? I don't know that.
Yeah.
Was it super offensive? I also don't know. I don't even know what he
I
said.
don't know what he said either, but there was something
Right.
that was enough to get that job taken away from him.
Exactly, right? So, God, it's hard. I think what's the Canadian president? He did like blackface or something. He did blackface when he-
twice,
yeah,
multiple times.
Yeah, he did it back. He did it back in college. He did blackface.
Yeah.
Horrible, right?
Yeah.
And he, back then nobody blinked an eye,
Yeah.
right? So he fucking did it, no problem. Sorry for swearing.
No, you're good. And now he's like the beacon of woke culture in Canada.
Right.
Now everybody's like bowing down to him.
Yeah, so you look at his actions and you think, this guy's a pretty stand-up dude.
Yeah.
But then you look at that and you're like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at that kind of stuff, I don't know if there's a right answer. My opinion is, I look at him doing blackface and I think, that you messed up. Bad move, dude. That's terrible. That is not good. And then I look at him now and I see what he's doing and I think, okay, he did that. Is he that person right now? That's what I do. And I would say, no.
Yeah, you definitely.
Do I think, I think Kevin Hart said something about being gay.
Something with that, yeah. But
Right.
I think 10 years ago, that was normal. Like, I would imagine, like, you were a young man in 5th grade and you're like, I don't want to play that sport. That's gay. This is gay. And, like, that's what people used to do 10 years ago. And now, obviously, times are changed. And I don't personally use that. Matt doesn't personally use that. It's...
Yeah, but 10 years ago, like, okay, 10 years ago is still offensive. That's the
Exactly.
thing, right? So, like,
But I'm saying, I think
10 years
people are
ago
more
still,
aware now.
yeah, people are like, dude,
Yeah.
what? The times are changing? Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. So it is more on a societal level wrong. It was still wrong then.
Yeah.
I think that him saying that, do I think that Kevin Hart hates gay people? No, I don't think that. I don't think anybody, and of course he doesn't. He would say, no, I don't. What, are you crazy?
He's a guy in Hollywood. It's all he works with. Like,
Yeah, he's out, whatever. He's living a life, man. I don't think that he feels that way. But so I would take, what is he doing right now? Is he that person? Does he really believe that his actions speak to that way? But that's just how I would look at it. However, if I'm at the CEO of the whatever the hell the Grammys it was, and I had to choose between Kevin Hart and he has this tweet that says something, and a guy that didn't say it, I'm going with the guy that didn't say it. Because there's plenty of comedians out there. There's plenty of people that don't have that on there.
yeah.
And so that's another thing. When you're going into business and it's like, is he the only... I mean, God, you made a mistake, dude, whatever. You're going to move on with life. This guy doesn't have that mistake,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going with this guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're all replaceable. We are...
Yo, if my son
Hey,
comes
come.
home... We're reading the tweet here. Is this the tweet?
Okay, so this is the tweet from Kevin Hart.
Is this the tweet? Yo, if my son comes home and tries to play with my daughter's dollhouse, I'm going to break it over his head and say, And my voice stops. That's gay. Read it. Okay.
That's a good one.
That's pretty bad.
I mean,
Jesus.
yeah, that's a pretty tough one right there to recover from.
Child abuse and
Homophobic. Yeah.
You know, yeah. If I read that and I'm thinking, nah, Kevin Hart, you just you fucked up, man. Sorry, bro. You shouldn't have said that. I don't care if it's a joke.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
That's a tough one to come back
Yeah,
from right
shit,
there.
man. You fucked up.
I mean, I don't think he knew in 10 years he was going to be in the situation where, like, hey, you're like the most paid comedian, you're this, you're that. He probably never thought that would come to
Well,
life.
either way, I think that when
Yeah.
that happens, shit like that happens, everybody should look at that and just, in my opinion, everybody should look at that and just say, hey, you fucked up. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
That was stupid. Don't say that. That was wrong. You messed up. And then he should say, you know what? I messed up. I shouldn't have tweeted that because that's messed up.
He
That's
did come
wrong,
out
and I
and
don't
say
do it.
that.
Yeah, and then that's fine. We move on. We give him another chance. Whatever. You know, live, laugh, love.
All right. So I think we've pretty much gone over that whole topic. I know you possibly had another one you want to go over. Did you want to do that in this sitting?
Sure, I don't care if you're down.
So healthcare?
Yeah.
All right. So you work in the medical field.
Yeah.
You've seen what's going on with COVID. I imagine you've seen some pretty crazy things. Is healthcare a right?
Well, let's think about this, right? Let's say you stab Nate,
Yes.
right? You go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what you get? Free healthcare.
Mm,
You stabbed our friend Nate in cold blood,
yeah.
and our society has determined that you deserve healthcare while you're a prisoner, right?
Yeah.
But you leave here right now. You go outside and you give a homeless person $100. Let's say, you know what, you cure cancer. In America,
Okay.
you don't get health care. Right?
Yeah.
You could be the greatest person in the world in America,
Mm-hmm.
and your health care is no longer a right. You need to buy it.
Okay.
You need to pay for it.
Mhm.
Right? And in my eyes and in what I've seen in the hospital with people who don't have the means to pay for their health care
Mhm.
for simple things such as I have diabetes and I'm going to go blind or lose my feet if I don't get this insulin.
Jeez.
And they're like, okay, can you pay for this? You know, they don't care. That you got to pay for it. And that's capitalism, but I think healthcare should be a right in our country at this point. We have the resources to and the ability to make it a right,
Yeah.
and I think it should. And does that mean I don't recognize that it's expensive?
Very-
No. It is expensive,
No.
especially when our country is so sick. And I'm not saying that, hey, let's just give everybody health care and just call it macaroni. It's going to fix all our problems. It won't fix all of our problems. It'll help. It'll help bring up the lower part of our society that are really struggling
Yeah.
and are most affected by health problems and try to improve their lives. It will not make them equal to everybody else or to the richest people. It won't do that because there's so many factors that play into health.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, you go to prison, you commit a crime, you get health care. Why
Yeah.
can't we provide that to hardworking citizens in America? Why not? I mean, why not? The answer is, oh, it's expensive. Oh, it's going
Yeah.
to take change. Oh, I'm going to have to take more out of my paycheck to pay for it.
Mhm.
Oh, some people might even say they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
They smoke, they drink, they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And I understand why you would say that.
Mm.
But the positive that's going to be created in other people's lives that do deserve it is
Yeah.
going to be significantly greater than just, saying, well, that guy doesn't deserve it, And also, how can you define that? Like the hate speech thing. How do you
Yeah,
define
it's
it? Right?
Well, I drink and smoke. I think he deserves it.
Right, yeah.
I would hope he gets it. Yeah, no, that's definitely one of those tough topics. I think people always talk about but the cost, the taxes, the cost, the taxes.
I don't think it should be a tough topic.
Yeah.
This is not like the hate speech thing.
Mm.
And I'll say that it's not like the hate speech thing because the hate speech thing is really hard to define.
Yeah.
Healthcare is not.
Yeah.
These people, if you go to I worked at a county hospital in Phoenix, right? And a majority of the patients there are low socioeconomic status,
Mhm.
refugees, undocumented immigrants, people that are disabled.
Okay.
These people's lives are being ruined because they cannot easily afford healthcare. It's so hard for them. Okay, imagine this, right? Let's say this. You got 2 jobs. You got 2 kids. You don't speak English. And you are like, you know what? My vision is going bad. And I don't know why. Also because you don't have very good education. So you're like, I'm going to try to figure out how to get a doctor's appointment, right? Well, you find out there's plenty of doctors around. And you find out, okay, one, it's 20 minutes away by bus. It's going to take $100. You have to pay $100 to be seen by this doctor. And it's going to take 4 hours, and you're going to see the doctor for 15 minutes. And all he's going to say is, you know, you have diabetes, which you already know, and you already know that you have to take insulin to take care of it.
Yeah.
But now you can't pay for the insulin because you don't have insurance, because they denied you because you have diabetes. It's a pre-existing condition. You have 2 jobs, so taking the bus for 40 minutes is going to take a big chunk out of your day. The appointment's going to take 4 hours of you just waiting in the appointment room, and you're only going to see the guy for 15 minutes, and he's going to tell you something that you already know, right?
Yeah.
That's reality for millions of people, and they just say, I'm not going. I'm not going to do this. Now, if it wasn't $100, it was easier to see people. There was going to be faster appointments because there was more doctors paying for those kinds of things, or working with the low-income kind of people, or primary care doctors. And you know what? You saw him twice last year instead of, you haven't seen him in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to feel a lot better about it. You're like, well, it only, you know what? I go twice a year, and I always have, and it costs me nothing. Why not? You know, it's going to take down that barrier. Then you're still going to have the bus. You're still going to have the 2 kids, 2 jobs. You're still going to have those problems, but it's going to take out the money part of it, right? And since you saved $100 on, you know, the appointment costs and your insulin, now guess what? Your life's improved. Now you have more money for your kids. Now maybe you have money for an Uber, and now you don't have to spend 40 minutes getting on the bus. You can just get there in 10 minutes, right?
And your health improved.
Right, yeah, and you get to the hospital, and the doctor's like, oh my God, you have glaucoma, man. We got to take care of you right now. And then guess what? The medication for glaucoma, boom, saves your eyesight. Now you can continue working for the rest of your life without going blind. Now your kids' life's improved. Now your kids are going on and making better lives for themselves. Your wife's life is improved. It's just like such a small, like, you don't realize that those small things really they have a domino effect of better things happening. And when people say, you know, in my opinion, when people say, oh, it's going to cost me more taxes. Yeah. I'm saying it's going to cost you money to greatly improve the life of somebody else. Yeah. That, you're pretty selfish when you say that. Yeah. You know? And it's not, that's pretty clear to me. You know, it's like, oh, it's going to cost me more money on taxes. It could possibly prevent somebody from going blind, or they have cancer. You know, and that $10,000 medication that they have to pay for now, that they're going to be in debt for the rest of their life, or they just say, I can't afford it, I'm going to die. They may get that medication. How awesome is that? Just think about it that way. Don't think about, you know, this cost me whatever. Think about, you know, this is really benefiting my society, because then that guy is not going to die. His kids are going to have a better life. They're going to lead possibly more productive. I'm not going to say it's 100% guaranteed, but it's increasing that probability, you know? And I just think if you think outside of yourself, it becomes less of, is it a right? It is right, you know? Especially nowadays, back maybe in the Romans, where I'm a farmer, and I lived to 26, and that's a full life. Things are different. But nowadays, people are living, you know, 100 years. Yeah. So
I would think a lot of people, though, when it comes to, oh, my taxes are raised, it's not so much that they're selfish and they don't want to help somebody. They think, my taxes are not being used for anything good. Because I pay $40,000 a year in taxes. I have not seen a single government program that has worked. We're good at blowing people up and collecting taxes. That's about the only 2 things that the government is really good at. So I think an argument against that would be, why would I give more money to an already failed system when, like, inherently the American government was set up to be hard to get things done. We were set up with bureaucracy to make it slow. So why am I going to give extra $5,000 a year in taxes if it's not going to help anybody, because the government programs already suck? Like, is there a way to get around that, maybe, rather than putting doctors with $600,000 student loan debt, if we say, hey, we're going to pay for all of your schooling, we're going to support you all the way through, and we're going to give you a lower income tax, but every doctor you have to help out 15 people a year pro bono, no questions asked. Like, maybe if it was sold a different way rather than we're going to raise taxes 10% and throw money at it and let's see who gets something done. 'Cause I think that's people's biggest thing is like, I want to help people, but I don't see, like in California and LA, there's like 40% tax every year. I don't know the actual numbers. Some crazy mountain, there's 7 homeless people living out front right now, and I make $400,000 a year, and 180 of that was given to the government, and there's still homeless people in front of my house. So like, where's this money going? I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah, that's fair. And I get that. You know why? I get that because I thought I had that too. Before the hospitals and my experience in it, I thought, what is happening? Where does the money go? We have all this. I mean, you hear, $1 billion. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Geez, that's a lot, right? And I think, right, what is that? Where is it going? And I totally get that. And then I got into it, and I think what you said is right. It needs to be sold in a different way. Because when I got into the hospital and I saw people getting, eye procedures that were potentially going to save their vision from diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma and things like that, they're getting it paid for through Medicare. Medicaid, which is expanded through Obamacare and they're getting it paid for. These people they're like $10,000 procedures, and they're getting it completely paid for. So they're saving their eye vision through this. I see it. I'm seeing them come out of these procedures, and they're doing great. They're saving their eye vision. To me, I'm like, that's incredible. I'm seeing the positive that the tax money from Obamacare did. And I'm thinking, well, if everybody saw this, I think they would be. So it needs to be changed more. And I'm right. And there is again, this goes back to, I'm getting taxed this much, and I'm not seeing that great of change. I think still, it kind of goes back to somewhere there is being change done. And
just because you don't see it.
You don't see it right away. You just have to have faith, but there should be promotion of what's going to happen. And that doesn't mean that things can't get better. But things do get better. And there's studies about it. And that if you look at the health of the lower class in Britain before they had, I think it was in World War II, before they had universal health care. And then after they had universal health care, the National Health, and I can't remember the acronym, but when they had it, it did bring it up. Their health increased, their mortality rate went down, the lifetime expectancy went up, things got better for them overall. So you will see it. You just have to pay attention. It's not gonna be remove the homeless people outside of your house. I don't know. Maybe it should. I don't know. Healthcare is not gonna do that, or maybe it will if they got more mental health care. I don't know. But I just think in your whole life, yes, money is important. Yes, all these things. But once you're making over $400,000, you're pretty secure, man. Your kids are going to go to college. You're not starving. You're not suffering at $400,000. And I get it. You earned it. I get it. Yes, it's yours. But this person has nothing. They have nothing. Like, oh no, this person got, these kids are not receiving weekend lunches from United Way in Arizona. They're not starving over the weekend for your taxes. Kids are, starving. They don't have health care. Think about kids. People always like to think about kids. They're like adults, whatever. But kids, they're really going to benefit. So I don't know. It is a right in my eyes, and it should be, especially because we're giving it to prisoners. Shit, we're giving if people don't deserve it and it's costing you too much money, don't give it to prisoners, right? So it's like, if we can do it for prisoners, we can do it for our society. Things are gonna get better for other people, and it might not make your life better. That money that you give to the government might not make your life better, but it will make somebody else's a little bit easier. Even if a little bit, okay.
And I'll touching on Obamacare, I would say 99.9% of people that have an opinion on it actually don't know what it is, or have read into it, or maybe looked into how is it actually helping people. They just saw some news agency say Obamacare 40% less effective than before, and it's this sucks. Get rid of it. That sucks. But it's have you actually read into it? Have you talked to someone that works in a hospital that is actually seeing like this person got an eye surgery that they'd be blind in a year if they didn't get. Like I see the direct effects, and like I'm guilty of that myself. I've seen a million different things on why it's good and why it's bad, but I've never actually researched it one bit. So I'm glad that it's actually doing something and you're figuring that out.
Look, a quick synopsis of Obamacare is pretty much that it's increasing the amount of available health care for people, right? And it's kind of preventing health insurance companies from jacking up the price, keeping it at like a more reasonable price in the market, and also preventing health insurance companies from people, we're not going to insure you because you have diabetes. Yeah. Or,
everybody's got diabetes, I feel like now.
Well, I'll give you a statistic real quick. Nearly, I think it's like 43 or nearly half of Americans have one pre-existing condition, and nearly a third have two or more. And so a pre-existing condition might be hypertension. Me and you might have hypertension. Also, they might have obesity. We know our friends, 22-year-old males in America, living all the food they can have, right? They are obese. They would have a pre-existing condition. Or they smoke, or they did. And a pre-existing condition might be you smoked 5 years ago. You even quit for 5 years. Well, they still might declare that, and you would get denied coverage. So Obamacare reduced those health insurance companies to deny those people. They reduced the problem, their ability to jack the prices up because of those. And it did. It expanded it by a bunch. It gave millions of people health insurance, and that's great. Yeah. Because now this health insurance is like giving these people more opportunity to get cared for. Now that people always say, well, it made it more expensive for the middle class people. And unfortunately, I don't know enough about that to say if that's true or not. I don't believe it did. I think maybe a little bit, or maybe it cost McDonald's more money. Like my dad works for McDonald's, and he's like, yeah, we got to pay for everybody. McDonald's is a $1 billion company.
Yeah, okay. And the reason everybody has diabetes, they're obese.
Like, right, yeah, exactly.
There should be an obesity tax on these companies like Coke. How many people have, I know there's no statistic, how many people have died from drinking Coca-Cola every day and just rotted the inside of their body, insulin sensitivity, and
think about this. It's called a sin tax, right? This is something that I like. So sin tax would be charging a tax on chocolate bars or cigarettes or tobacco or Coke or things like this, or gambling or alcohol. So what happens is if you want to go to the store, this does for cigarettes, right? You go to the store, cigarettes used to be like 10 cents a cigarette. Now it's like $8 for a pack, right? That's a sin tax. And I kind of like the idea of using sin taxes on things that you might not think of, like Coke or soda or hose. You go to the Walmart section, people's carts are just full of whatever, bread. It's whipped cream. Sin tax on those kind of things, a sugar tax, right? You can call it that, And you could literally think about how many Cokes are being sold, You increase price a little bit. I don't know the numbers. I wish I knew the numbers, but you could take money from that to pay for people's universal health care. You're gonna pay for it at some point, because if they don't have the money, taxpayers are going to have to pay for somebody's health care, right? So you can do that. Also, maybe use the sin tax for better education. We teach people better than we are right now, which is barely any. Don't drink Coke. This has sugar. What is diabetes? What is obesity? How do you prevent this? Or we give them more of an opportunity to work out for an hour. We pay them enough that they have enough time to work out or whatever,
Maybe like part of your 8-hour work day, you work 7 hours and your boss pays you for the last hour as long as you show you went to the gym.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I have no idea, but we got to do two things. Well, we got to do a lot of things. More education, more access to health care, and less of me, and more of other. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good point. Why not? What's the worst thing? You ever give a homeless person $10? You feel good. You feel good about it. It's okay. That's guilty. I feel great. I'm like, God damn, I'm a good person. Here's $10. Yeah. That's joy. That's joy of helping somebody else out, and we can cultivate that through doing other things like that. So yeah, I think if healthcare was right, that'd be awesome. Dental care too. That'd be awesome. A lot of people out there with no teeth. Nate.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up everything we were trying to cover on this. Thank you for watching, and go ahead and tune in for some. Go ahead and tune in to later episodes. Thank you.